I'm going to show you how to tie the I-splice. The I-splice will create a permanent or semi-permanent loop at the end of a rope that you can lash to your truck, your boat, your trailer, your aircraft, or whatever. When you first start off with this requires woven rope. You want to fuse the ends here. You can see I just kind of melted it a bit because otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult to handle this because these will fray and get out of control. Most importantly, you need to figure out what the size of the loop is that you want, because once you get started, you're never going to change that loop size. And what you want to do here is you want to put a piece of tape on the end of the rope where you get started, because otherwise it's going to fray all over the place. So I've got this spot marked here, and it really doesn't matter what tape you use. Some people say, oh, electrical tape, oh, this or that, but it's going to get thrown away and taken off anyway. And what this does is this prevents the splice from running up the end of the rope. So all you gotta do is just put this on here. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm not gonna do a huge amount of weave, but for critical load support, you want to have at least 6 inches of weave in, because otherwise this ain't gonna work. And what I'm gonna do is just say, hey, I want about this amount of loop size. So I'm going to come right to about here, and then I'm going to spiral out. Let's see, I'll put the piece of tape there so I know where I start too. All right, so I'm going to loop this around. Okay, that's my starting point. It makes it much easier just to mark with a piece of tape. Trust me on this one, I speak from experience. And now, because I wrote this book to share these experiences with you, so you can look super cool tying the I-splice. And the I-splice, the in-splice is pretty cool. It allows you to weave backwards, but the I-splice is next level, and that is the ultimate. Because instead of tying just a knot at the end, you create a semi-permanent or a permanent loop that you can hook to anything. It'll never come undone, and it will work really well. So the key here is what you're going to do is you're going to ravel backwards through this part of the rope, each of these strands. Now, what do I mean by that? You see the roll direction is this way. What we're going to do is take these strands and go the opposite direction all the way down. As soon as you start seeing the process, you'll get the idea. Now, getting this started is a pain. I won't sugarcoat it for you at all, because getting these strands all started properly is nothing less than a total mess. So the goal here is just to get this going, and then as soon as you do a weave or two, everything levels out pretty well. Okay, so I've got this weave, and all I gotta do is find the third strand that doesn't have anything under it, and then I run my third and final strand there. And so again, going to start here, and one of the keys is make sure to keep each of these twisted tightly, because they will loosen up. And you can see they're kind of already loosened up, and that's okay, perfectly normal. Does take a little bit of practice to do this. And now I'm going to snug that up as much as I possibly can. You don't want that spinning out on you. And now what I'm going to do is you go one hop over, you hop over this one, and then you go under the next strand. What do I mean by that? I'm going over this one and then under this strand, and I'm going to slowly work my way backwards along the rope. Okay, so far so good. Make sure to keep it twisted. Okay, I'm going to go over this and then under the next strand. So over, under the whole time. The I-splice is much easier to tie than the in-splice, let me tell you. Okay, and then I've got my third, wherever it is here. Okay, so 1, 2. Okay, so I've got under, and there's my third under. So that's the key, is getting this started, because once you get 1 or 2 started, then it's very easy to do. Okay, so am I looking okay there? Yeah, so far so good. And it should be symmetric with a strand under each opposing strand. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'll do another one. Remember, over, under, over, under. And usually you can do two, but you get lost on the third. Happens to me all the time, then you gotta back it out. It's no big deal, but it's just part of the process. Over, under, over, under. Okay, here we go. Number two is easy. Getting that down in there. But the third, finding where you haven't woven under, that's the trick. Okay. All right. And it should look symmetric and I will say sexy. And all three should fan out just like that, one under each reposing strand. And now I'm just going to keep this process going for a couple more passes and then show you finished product, or show you the finished product. It's funny when you're filming these things, your grammar goes to heck because you're thinking about what you're filming and then what you're talking about. And especially on a skill demonstration rather than just a talking head, it's amazing the difference. And there we go. I've now created the eye splice. I've created a permanent loop in this knot. And it doesn't matter how hard I pull. The best part is you don't lose strength, unlike a knot in the rope. And then to finish it off, you just simply tear off the tape. This is the eye splice. It has almost the exact same strength as the straight rope. No matter how hard you pull on this, it will never slip, never pull. And this is over 6 inches long. So that's 4 inches plus another 2. So that is at least 15 centimeters. And for completeness, what I would recommend is also adding a whipping or a fusing to this. You can see the eye splice on page 118 in my book, The Most Crucial Knots to Know. And to make it really sexy, you can add a whipping as well to this end. It's going to be pretty tough to do the standard Boy Scout whipping on the end because of the length of this rope, but you can. And that adds a nice finishing touch. And there you go. Pretty slick. A permanent loop